All right, I think now we can get started.
Fantastic. Oh, I'm seeing lots of places. Lots of people here today. This is great. Okay, so if anyone else comes in, they'll be able just to pick it up, I'm sure. So we'll go ahead and get started. So first of all, welcome everyone to this session. You're here for Game On, teaching AP Computer Science principles through game design. Our objectives for today, we want to really look at equitable and accessible computer science models, really thinking about strategies for implementing game design. So we work with a program called Game On with teachers, including Joan, who is here in the room right now with us in the chat. And we try to provide game design as a way to teach computer science. So just a quick agenda for today. We're going to talk a little bit about why game design for AP Computer Science principles. It's one of those classes you can teach in several different ways. This is a way that we found very successful. So we're going to talk about the why, the curriculum, what we do, different types of activities that we find engaging. And then we are hoping to open up some time for questions and answers. So I'm going to kick it to Winta for an introduction.
So, hello, I'm Winta. I am the program coordinator for Game On, and I'm also an alumni of our after school program, which I will talk about a little bit later in this presentation. As a fun fact, my favorite game right now is Splatoon 3. Very fun, but frustrating, but fun.
Awesome. So my name is Amy Patterson. So I am Chief Program Officer at Urban Arts. My favorite game is Pikmin. So as we both said, I think we kind of just jumped into our introductions. We'll also mention, though, we are from an organization called Urban Arts. We're based in New York City, but we really are around the country now, trying to work with more rural schools as well. We've served more than 260,000 students of diverse backgrounds by offering in-school programs that Winta, for example, now helps support, out-of-school programs, and then also a love of learning through computer science and game design. The main reason for that is there's just something about games and how they entertain, they connect, and engage us. So that's why Winta and I really think video games are an awesome and effective way to teach computer science. So in lots of different ways, whether we're teachers or we're students, we really feel video games can help us see ourselves in new ways. It's this idea that in education, we're all active players, right? So we're getting lost in new worlds. We learn through struggle. We see the best and the worst in ourselves, move through obstacles. If anyone remembers Oregon Trail back in the day, really great game for learning skills. We want students, though, to learn through creating their own games and not just playing games. So we want to think about how students can become creators more than consumers and explore self-expression in really the best possible way. So really to address that, what we focus on is designing and implemented educational programs rooted in arts and technology, specifically working with underrepresented students, looking mainly at the art and technology of game development through computer science, coding, animation, music, storytelling. And so these images that we're cycling through are all from students in our programs. We make sure to provide private school level college access services. Students have earned more than $16 million in scholarships in these programs, and they're also connected to mentorship and internship opportunities, generating a new and diverse talent pipeline. So, I just feel like you can look at these games and see this magic happening, which is exciting, but there's also evidence. Like, it's not just the games that we're seeing in this anecdotal evidence. There's like hard research that opportunities for students to explore and to express identity can dramatically improve learning outcomes. So like researchers like these, I'm not going to read the whole list, but have found the study of computer science through game design is just incredibly effective. So that's why we really push game design as that gateway. And it's not just about gaming. So Winta will share in a little bit how the skills in game design can expand to new and emerging technologies, and how that's really what led us to develop this AP Computer Science Principles program. We find there's a transferability of insights, basically, as students jump between being game players to modifying game worlds and then being creators of their own games. So an interesting thing about the AP program that we're about to tell you about is that it started actually in an after school for fun program. So Winta, as I mentioned, she was both a student in this program and now she works with Urban Arts Teaching. She went through the program, went on to study software engineering, and now she is an amazing asset to all of our teachers. So I'm going to pass it over to Winta to tell you a little bit about this Urban Arts after school program that really kicked it all off.
Mhm. Yeah, so it's a high school program more specifically. And I joined, I believe, sophomore year of high school. So like about 2014, 2015-ish. And it was a really great experience for me because I learned C# as my first ever programming language. And I also learned how to use Unity, which I'll talk about a little bit after this slide. But it was a really great experience because not only did I get to learn about the hard, like technical skills about making a game, but also the soft skills needed as well. How to work in teams, how to spread out like responsibilities between your team members, and how to just create a overall great project to share with others. So, speaking of Unity, we use it because of how it is a real industry leading technology. It is a cross platform and a game engine released in 2005 and is widely used in the industry. So it's used by both big and small companies alike. So they create games that your students or kids probably play right now in their own free time, like Among Us, Fall Guys, or even a game that I like to play in my own free time, Phasmophobia. Pretty cool game. It's like a really good piece of technology because I feel like students want to actually learn skills that can be used in like real life outside of school. So this is really good because then they can know, okay, like I'm not learning this just for the sake of like learning something for school. Like I'm actually learning something that can be used in a career. So it's really like it's really interesting because it's not only used in game design, but it's also used in other industries as well, like movies, architecture, engineering, and even the automotive industry as well. So essentially, if people learn how to use Unity and learn how to program in that, they could transfer these skills onto a bunch of different markets. So Unity skills in general are growing 62% faster than the job market overall. And specifically when it comes to AR and like gaming with VR and AR, that is growing a ton. So because of that, if your students really want to do AR and they want to be like an AR/VR developer, the salaries for that, they are going way high. They should feel confident, like, yeah, okay, like if I learn this, I should be able to get a pretty good job in that industry, which is really important. So knowing this, we decided, hey, we should bring this technology and bring it into other schools across the country, right? We shouldn't just stay in New York. Like there's so many like school districts out there that would appreciate this, right? That is what led to Game On. So it is a completely free program that is now branching out to many states right now. And it's cool because the teachers get to be trained on how to teach it and how to use it. So they get over 40 hours of training and they get access to our interactive and again, evidence-based curriculum. So the teachers get to learn what they have to learn in order to allow their students to create their own video games. What that means is that they basically work with us to learn how to use Unity, they learn how to program in C#, and then basically take that over to their students. At the same time, because this is basically an AP CSP course, they also get the skills and knowledge needed to pass the AP exam at the end of the year, which is also pretty important. The students also get above about like 108 hours of classroom instruction. And again, it's really cool because they get to create games and they get to make their own like original art, music, and storytelling. So it's pretty fun. The curriculum itself contains the syllabus, the lesson plans that are aligned with the AP CSP and ISTE standards. The students get tech books, which are basically collections of worksheets and handouts, which is pretty important because then teachers have that flexibility to print things out if they want to. And the students get access to the Unity project guides, which I'll get into a little bit. And they also get to, well, the teachers get to have slideshows for each of the lessons. So that's pretty handy. And this is just a slide showing what some of these materials look like. So another way that we, well, a way that we teach these concepts is through unplugged activities. We've talked so much about like the high fancy technology, but we also have to remember that unplugged activities are really important too for learning, especially since computer science and programming can be seen as this really daunting, complicated task, right? So in Unit 1, we have this very introductory game that we call the if-then game. And the reason why is to teach conditionals to students, because conditionals basically are the backbone of any game or even any piece of technology, actually, the more I think about it. So what we do is that we show them a question, which is, what do we do if you're bored? And I want you guys to answer that right now in the chat. What do we do if we're bored? We start off with a real life example to then progress on to like a programming concept. Craft. That's pretty cool. What do you craft, by the way? That sounds interesting. Find a new book. Also, okay, we have some book readers in here. Cool. I need to read more books. Oh, you have a Cricut machine. I have one too. Cool. Except I think mine might be broken. Do you have any other answers about what we do if we're bored? For me, I like to either just find a game to play or I might find a movie to watch. Physical role play, that's cool. Scroll on TikTok's frowny face. I mean, at least try to find interesting topics on TikTok because then you can learn how to do other stuff, right? So it doesn't have to be all bad. Crochet and watch TV, nice. What was the name of the website? Of our website? It is urbanarts.org, if that's what you mean. Oh, of the program. Right now, well, we're talking about Game On, but the after school program right now is just called like the Urban Arts After School Program. I can get you the link to that page right now, though. Give me a second.
I can add it if you want to just keep with the game.
Oh, you know, yeah, thank you, Amy. Yeah. Let's see, podcast. Nice. To explore the Game On curriculum. We do have a preview that we like to give out sometimes.
We're about to go through it just now.
Yeah, so don't worry. All right, so to continue on with the game, notice how in this slide here, we move from like, hey, what do you do if? And now we introduce that if and then structure because that's how if statements are created in C# with Unity. So we say, hey, on to the next example. If I want to watch YouTube, then blank. What do we do? Stuttering. What's interesting about this question is how it starts to reveal like how students think about like a multi-step task because some students think about like the complete end goal while other students like think more gradually. So I also want to see answers from you all right now. If I want to watch YouTube, then what should I do? One or two answers is fine.
I'll answer out loud as more people answer. I often would pull it up on my phone.
That is one way, pulling up your phone, put on your headphones. So that's like a step zero. And that's why I really like this question because, again, it shows how some people think to the end goal. Other people, again, think from like the way beginning. So some people start with putting on their headphones before they even pick up their phone or turn on their computer. Oh, yeah. And you need a charged phone as well. So, yeah, that's another consideration. I'm screaming. Get a snack to eat as I walked. Yeah, that's also important. Snacking, it really helps you get through the day. All right, so get a snack. Oh, sorry, I thought that was a new response for some reason. I saw the little thumbs up. Second on the screamer. Yeah, that's like really important. Now, this right here is a last example here. And this one is pretty funny because you could get some pretty wacky answers from your students, which is really good because they get to loosen up and not feel so tense in a classroom, right? So, this question is, if it's midnight, you're hungry, and you smell your neighbor cooking something delicious, but you have no food in your fridge, what do you do? Then what? I've heard some pretty funny answers to this question. I guess that makes me basic because every single time I would just call them and hit them up and be like, "Hey, can you share some of that food?" But not everyone is like me, I guess. I turn over, try to ignore it, not getting out of bed. That's a way, yeah. Avoiding it completely. Walk over to say hello and compliment them on their cooking. See, that's a nice, yeah. Yeah, that's a nice way of going about it. Um, just to share, we went over this with some of our like out of school teachers, and one of them shared a response where like they would like sneak into the neighbor's house and like slowly, gradually take tiny little chunks of food to make it look like a mouse is taking the food so that they wouldn't be a suspect. So, yeah, very interesting answers. But all right. Thank you all for participating, by the way. Really appreciate that. So, why do we use the if then game? Again, it is a very introductory exercise way early on, like unit one. And it is really important because it basically lays that foundation of what conditional statements are. It combines logic and creativity, and it also allows them to understand, like, basically the backbones of video games. So, in this slide here, we show them Pac Man, a very basic game. And we basically use that as an example of how an if then statement is used in an actual game. So, in this case here, we say, hey, if Pac-Man is trapped by a wall, then the player should move on a different arrow key to go in a different direction because they bump into the wall. They can't go in that direction anymore. They have to move in a different direction to play a game. Depends on my neighbor and scroll trader if they're not welcoming. This is fun. I'm glad you think it's fun. Thank you. All right. So it is important to mention that we teach all of these topics in a scaffolded way to build students' confidence. So we basically, for each unit is divided into three, I would call them subcategories: replicate, modify, and create. And this is really important because you're basically building the students like risk taking. Replicate is very low risk because the students get to build, like recreate a game step by step. They are replicating a game. So they have their student guide, they follow it step by step to basically create something, right? After that project is done, they move on to the modify portion of the unit. That's when they take their replicate project and add some modifications to it. They add some new features to that game without direct instruction. So yeah, they are given hints. They are like told, okay, like here's some options to do. Make it so like this extra thing happens in the game, but they are not told explicitly how to do it. So they have to use the knowledge that they gained earlier on in the unit to add those new features. Then lastly, after that, they move on to the create portion of the unit. And that is when they create an entirely new game from scratch. And that is when it becomes very high risk. They have to use all of the knowledge they gained from that whole unit to create a new project. The other important thing that we like to do when teaching all of this stuff is to use rubber ducking. And rubber ducking is very important because it allows you to talk through problems with your students. So we like to avoid giving yes or no answers when possible. Sometimes they are needed. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes they're needed, but for the most part, we like to talk them through their questions in order to lead them to an answer. So this is great because it allows you to relate their questions back to topics that you've already covered in a unit. It allows the students to actually like ask further like questions to get them really thinking about what they're trying to solve. It also allows them to experiment too. It allows them to try new things, see what works and what doesn't. And that's really important when it comes to programming or really solving any problem. Um, we just think this is a really important skill, and that's why we emphasize that a lot throughout the curriculum. So the other thing that we do, which actually involves some rubber ducking, is we use visual inquiry activities. The slide, there we go, there it is. So we use visual inquiry activities. And this is really cool because it's basically like a mini game study. We show them a video clip of a game, or you also have the option to play this game in class, by the way. Very engaging doing that. But if not, you can show a video of the game and they basically get to analyze that game that are aligned with some questions on the side, open-ended questions. Again, avoiding yes or no questions. Um, for the most part, we do provide pseudocode afterwards for them to analyze that helps them understand like, okay, like this is how I would like program whatever feature in this game by using pseudocode. It really helps them like understand things at a basic level. So through ABA, they get to like to think creatively at the beginning of a lesson. They get to practice with like analyzing games, and it's something that's kind of low risk because you're not like singling anyone out and being like, "Hey, I want you to tell me something about this game." Like it's pretty like just an open discussion, really. Yes, we will show an example later on. So here's an example of one VIA. It is the Super Mario Bros. Game from the DS. And as we can see here, that's the prompt there. Let's break down this video clip. What are some lines of code you'd write if you had to program this game? So if you want, feel free. Nicely positive. Thank you. I already see some great responses here, and this is exactly what you'd want like in an actual classroom. The students get to like describe what they're seeing. So hitting a brick and a coin comes out and like the little coin noise, the coin pops, on game start, you play the music, coins add for free players. Yeah, these are all little components and mechanics in this game. And again, that's exactly what you want with your students. Really good. Thank you for your responses. So again, just to summarize, when you construct a VAA, because you are allowed to like basically choose a game, by the way, to do, so you don't have to stick with the games you provide. If you know of a really cool game that your students would love to analyze, pick it. And the goal when doing that, or when using any VAA really, is again to avoid the yes or no questions, allow them to just, yes, Minecraft is a really good one. Avoid the yes or no questions, allow them to really focus on what they observe. I think observations is like key. They get to observe what's going on, how something is being done, what the player has to do to win. Very open ended. And when you create your own questions surrounding whatever game you chose, make sure that the questions are again broad so that then the students get to like they are free to see what they want to see or what they just what's happening in a game so that they don't feel like, oh, like maybe I shouldn't say that because that's not correct, or oh, maybe I shouldn't say that because that's not what the question is asking. Allow them to just feel what they feel, see what they see, and they should feel like able to just voice their own like opinions and stuff. So just don't restrict that by being too specific with your questions.
Yeah, a really great thing about the observation questions you can ask. I mean, it can be about mechanics, like how does something work? It can be about like what does this tell you about that? One thing we really like to do too is this idea of reconstructing things. So because our students are working in Unity, asking, so how would you do this in Unity, and like have them write out the Unity code too. It doesn't always have to just be pseudocode.
Mm-hmm. All right. So lastly, just to conclude the VIA section, when you conduct VIAs, if learners feel like a bit stuck, feel free to like give examples too. Like we do want these discussions to be student led, but sometimes they need help, and that's why we're here. So feel free to help them out by giving examples, maybe pointing out a little detail in a game, like, hey, what is that little UI thing in that top left corner of the screen? What does that say? Or hey, what are we noticing about what happens to the player when they do this? Or hey, what is that NPC doing? What are they saying? What does that mean? It just allows them again to slowly think and work through what you want them to notice. And if they seem to be like understanding the concept a little bit more, you can ask them, okay, like, what is something similar that you're seeing to really hammer in the point? So, oops. So what happens is that sometimes students end up asking questions that are kind of like similar to what the original question was. Feel free to just answer those questions, expand on the topic, but of course, you can dial it back to the original topic. And this right here is the example of a worksheet. So in Unit 1, we have them look at WarioWare games. Pretty cool. It's just a collection of mini games based on Wario. And this worksheet here is a VIA activity where they get to basically create their own WarioWare-like game, which is just a mini game. What's cool is that you get to choose to have them work in groups if you want. So it really just depends on how you want to do this. You can have them come up with like the game name, designed by who, if it's just one person or multiple people, have them describe the game, and also have them like kind of, I want to say, deconstruct the game into if then statements, because that is the overall goal for them to learn like conditionals.
And since we're good on time, we'd love to take just a minute if you all wanted to think about this. So this is one of my very favorite activities. So we have them do, again, the pseudocode, going through WarioWare. How would they write it out if Wario misses the light, then he jumps, that sort of thing. And so then we actually give everyone this opportunity to be creative and come up with their own games. So we'd love to give you just maybe 2 minutes to think, if you were going to create a game, what would it be about? So if anyone wants to add in the chat, what would be a fun game that you could create and then use if-then statements?
An idea that I'm thinking about right now is like a game about growing plants, because that's like one of my hobbies. That would be a lot of if then statements.
Ooh, I like that. What would be some of the if-then statements for that?
Yeah, I'm trying to like organize in my head just because there's like so much that goes into it.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking like, hey, because you could basically like multiply your plants by making cuttings of them. So I think like if you make a cutting, and this goes into like if and statements, ooh, fancy. So if you make a cutting of a plant and that cutting contains a node, then that cutting should be able to grow into a new plant. But even that contains a bunch of other if statements inside of that. So that's just a simplification of it.
Yeah, these are really fun to think through. And one thing we like to make sure we're doing with the visual inquiry activities is lining up what type of game aligns best with the content we're teaching that day. So, there are some games that are very clearly aligned with conditionals, but then otherwise, say we're talking about platformer games that day, we would share some specific platformer games and play with those too.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Again, play with electric vehicles and fuel vehicles. Choose an electric vehicle affects you with money/resources, vice versa too. Yeah, that could work.
Oh, thanks, Danielle. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the reasons we found these programs to work well is that in addition to providing, you with any program, you can provide the curriculum. But one thing that we find really helpful is like giving the teachers the opportunity to go through the curriculum almost as if they were students. So in our program, the teachers are actually making their own games as well. And we get to see a lot of creativity there. I love this example from Dale too about power-ups. Exactly. And so I'm going to transition to Winta, who will talk about how our teachers power up their knowledge. Sorry, through professional learning.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so basically, the teachers are very much supported. They get plenty of hours of synchronous and asynchronous like professional development, where again, they get to go through the curriculum as if they were just students and create these projects themselves. What's cool is that they also get like instructional coaching from cool people like me. They also get check-ins and class visits throughout the year, which is pretty cool. I will say like visiting schools and being able to talk not only to the teachers but also the students and get to hear their feedback on what they're learning. Very cool, very insightful for me. Awesome experience. Um, and they are also the teachers, they're also like supported through like the technology as well. So they not only get the curriculum and resources they need, but they also get the actual like practical technology they need too. So let's say they only have something like Chromebooks in their classroom. Well, if needed, they could also get a Unity Ed Lab, which is basically a cloud-based service. And the teachers also get moolah. They get a $2,000 stipend too. So they are supported so many ways, so many power-ups.
And that's one of the benefits in that this is like a research-based support system, right? So we had a U.S. Department of Education computer science initiative this is aligned with, and we're really excited to see the upcoming outcomes. We're also working over the next year on becoming an endorsed provider for AP CSP, which means like right now we have a syllabus that teachers submit, but in the future, then if we were able to become an endorsed provider, it would make that process so much easier in terms of like being able to teach your class. And yes, in answer to Robin's question, there is a summer training that is offered through Urban Arts, and we often have like really cool guest speakers join as well. We had a couple of people from Unity come this summer, and it was really fun because the Unity game design engine has this whole like professional cohort of people who are just like active on Discord and Facebook and like are part of this Unity Teach community. And so one of our teachers was like, I feel like I'm meeting a celebrity when the Unity people came to visit, the people on their educational team.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, so this is again just a slideshow of like the different slideshows we have, the different materials, very colorful, very nice. And this is a actual quote that we got from a exit ticket from a teacher. So it says, "My students are excited to make their own games," and that is one of the many goals that we want to accomplish. Very cool
Yeah,
to
we're
get
really excited. I
feedback like
mean,
that.
we've had really good feedback from teachers, which is nice. I mean, just this chance to have a great community. Joan's in here today. Maybe she could even speak to it. But we have this really great community of teachers, and going through, if you see these materials up here with the slides, they're going through the exact same things as the students, which is really fun too, in that like you have that greater empathy if something goes wrong for your students. Like, yes, I had the same thing happen this summer. So that's a really cool opportunity there. So a couple things that we've learned from the program. First of all, the findings around the PL sequence so far have been really good. People have found it high quality, engaging, useful, largely thanks to really cool people like Winta who helped make this PL happen. And Winta just provides constant support and meeting with people. And it's just this amazing relationships that she builds. People are also finding that using game design in AP computer science can create this high level of engagement for students. And those visual inquiry activities are really popular among students. So even if you're not teaching an AP class, like that would be a really cool thing to provide in any type of computer science class. And so Winta has now provided you with all the tools to be able to do that. We also have had 100% of teachers are feeling more confident with AP curriculum through game design, just going off of those exit tickets. One of the things that's most meaningful to me, though, is the fact that when we are surveying students, students are experiencing statistically significant increases in their interest and confidence in computer science, as well as their feeling of belongingness in computer science. So we really want to create like this diverse talent pipeline. Like right now, if you look at the tech industry, it's kind of lacking in diversity. And so we feel like this type of program and these programs that we're offering at Urban Arts have really helped students be able to see themselves as belonging in STEM worlds. So again, we're going to put a link in the chat to basically all of the programs if you wanted to check out any of them. We offer this Game On AP CSP program. We're also working with some Minecraft stuff for middle school, which is very cool. So yeah, I have the link in the chat. Please feel free to take a look. We basically, we firmly believe that every student is capable of engaging in computer science in a meaningful, maybe even life-changing way. And again, I think just looking at the student games really shows that. And we'd love to have you check out more of them. We can put the link in there later to really play or view our student games, but it's just so powerful to actually see those. So we want to open up some time. If you had any questions, please feel free to add in the chat.
Thank you.
Danielle.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you, Wally and Matthew.
Yeah, those are nice. I feel like we should like end it with a song or something like people.
A song.
Yes. Thank you all so much.
Usually the best session. We should also put that in the slideshow.
Next time we give a presentation.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris.
Oh, wait. I just thought of something we could share. This is our itch.io page from our after school program. Yes, I'm going to definitely share this because this is basically a portfolio of like student work from like years and years, like just compiled into one page. Like back when I was a student, my fellow like classmates, their work is on here. So really cool if you want to check out what they make.
Oh, I want to find actually, and we actually have game trailers from our Game On students as well, and I can post that link in here as well. So it's just so cool to see too, like the ways that the students, go above and beyond with their work too. So for example, we mostly focus on 2D learning in Game on 2D game creation, but we've even had students like teach themselves how to do 3D as part of the class. Like we really try to encourage that opportunity to, with AP, you get some people who are just like, okay, I'm going to do the bare minimum, just to create my project and get it in there. But like some students just get so excited about creating these games that they just go above and beyond. So I would just click on the YouTube link. That might be the easiest one just because the portfolio page is often blocked by schools. So we use that one in our after school program, but we're working on different like portfolio options that we can be sharing for in-school programs, given how many things are blocked. But maybe save that for when you get home and you can go and check that out. And then also if you just go to this YouTube page, there's some really cool student examples from Game On.
Yeah, I'm just like looking through everything, and I just find it really cool how it's like it's just nice to be a part of something that inspires people to do more than the bare minimum. Because when I did that one school visit and saw that 3D game with the car, which I think is in that playlist on YouTube, I was like, oh, like I was not expecting that at all. So that was a really pleasant surprise. Yeah, there it is right there. And it's cool because I actually got to talk with the specific student that worked on this, and he seemed like just so excited about the idea of just working on this more to polish it up and stuff.
So these were all high school, anywhere between 9th through 12th grade.
Hmm. Yes, that is true. Yeah. Like, definitely. Like, even when I work with our teachers and they like ask questions that aren't part of the curriculum, I'm like, okay, like let's experiment on that together. Let's learn how to do that together because sometimes it's stuff that I haven't even done before. So that is definitely true.
And I would definitely encourage all of you, no matter where you are located, you can encourage your students to do the after school program as well. It's just really neat to see the cool things that students create in that program. And it's completely free to students, which is incredible. There are options if you're in New York City. We have this really cool learning lab in Flatiron they can just go to after school or on Saturdays. But then there's also a remote version as well, just to kind of started, during COVID when we had to go online for everything. But that's really been something that's taken off in some ways. So there are opportunities, even if you're in a different type of New York City, you can look into our after school programs as well. And we would love to get more teachers in New York and outside of just New York City, although we love our New York City teachers too, but it would be fun. We were always talking about how we'd love to work with New York teachers in other parts of the state too. This game is really fun to play.
Very difficult, yeah. Oh yeah, we have this like end of the year like game showcase. And at first it was like pretty much only for the after school program kids, but we thought why not have our Game On students participate in that as well? So a coworker and I basically put some of like these games that we're watching right now like on a booth for people to come in and play. And Rooms is one of the games. People really enjoyed this one.
Oh, this was a fun one too.
It's a little bit hard to see, but the bean rolls.
Yeah, this one, I mean, this was one of the ones too that people are actually playing in arcade. So we don't have a ton of questions. Since we still have a couple of minutes, I think I'll share just a quick video from arcade for anyone who might be interested in checking that out, just to kind of see what that is. It gives you a taste of our after school programs, which again are things that students are doing in school as well. Like as we talked about, we have these cool after school programs, and that's really inspired the curriculum coming to schools.
Hello and welcome to this year's Urban Arts Arcade. For anyone new or unfamiliar, Arcade is an event where we come together to celebrate a whole year of game design. And that consists of us playing games, giving feedback, and coming together as a community. So today's agenda is pretty simple. We have 5 main spaces. So you're going to head around the corner to the Student Games Expo. And that consists of Brooklyn, where you can explore the art, design, and games from our gaming pathways, core, and advanced programs. And after that, you can head over to Crown Heights, where you can play games from our alumni and studio students. And then you can also go to the Bronx Free Play Arena, where you can participate in a Smash or Mario Kart tournament and win some prizes. Over there, we have our Post-it note wall, where you can make some artwork. Your little pixel art. And then in this main space at 2 p.m., we're going to have our industry roundtable event, where you're going to be able to hear from industry experts from Respawn Entertainment and Rockstar. And then at 3 p.m., we're going to have our studio presentations. These kids have been working on their games for a whole year, and we're finally going to get to see the culmination of all of their hard work.
I'm a part of Schrodinger's studio, and we're making this action/rhythm game called In a Snap. It is set in the early 2000s, and it features a super pixely, colorful art style. You follow this character named Paunch, who's trying to learn how to snap through a bunch of various whimsical trials.
So our game is called Solar Cyber Rush, and it's a cyberpunk puzzle game.
So in terms of our vision, we definitely went back and forth a lot, but the original idea was that the player lands into an unfamiliar world that appears abandoned at first. In order to restore the peace and bring back their own kind, the player must recollect memories of what brought the world to this stage, as well as defeat the boss of the new species that has taken over. To reach this goal, the player will play mini puzzles that will allow them to recollect their memory and collect tools to defeat the boss.
Programs like Urban Arts they're very important. They help spread the word of game development, not just spread the word, but actually put these curriculums into schools. We're seeing them all over America now, and high school kids get the opportunity to now develop their own games as projects. It makes their
Oh, it's buffering.
experience fun, and they learn that coding isn't boring. It can create something really cool, and art, and bring in all that together, and also teamwork they get to learn about.
And that's a wrap on Arcade 2023 at Urban Arts. So much creative, so much fun. Until next time.
Amy, you're muted.
So please feel free to get in touch with us if you have any questions. Really easy to remember Winta's email, because it is winta@urbanarts.org, which is amazing. Mine is amy.patterson with 2 T's at urbanarts.org. And then again, we can paste this link in here. One more time, our program, taking what we call our after school program is School of Interactive Arts, taking that to schools. And again, you can see some of our different programs. If you know anyone in middle school who might be interested in teaching through game design, or even preparing students for Battle of the Boroughs in New York City or other Minecraft challenges, we definitely have some cool opportunities that we're just rolling out this year. And then you can find the application, the flyer, all of that information for the AP program too. So feel free to check this out. Would love to see some applications, or just, reach out if you have any questions. And then I'll leave this one up as well, since it wasn't part of the presentation, but we're very excited to be, the trajectory has been interesting. Like, we went from after school to in school, high school, and now we're actually rolling out some of these types of programs with middle school as well. So taking the cool things that we're doing in Unity, which is a very advanced game design engine, and now kind of working with middle school students, and how can we create games and do fun things in Minecraft to learn computer science. And I will share the AP CSP flyer momentarily in the chat. And again, if you have any questions, let us know. We'll stick around for a minute or two. Otherwise, thank you again so much for joining. Hope you're having a great conference.